You ever notice how sometimes people start thinking about someone, and they don't even know why? Like their mind just keeps circling back to that person, almost without control. It's like their thoughts, decisions, even feelings are being pulled and shaped by this unseen force. That's what we call obsession, something way deeper than simple attraction or liking someone. Now, a lot of people don't use the word obsession when we talk about influence or control. But if you dig into the ideas of Machiavelli, famous strategists, the concept is pretty clear. He understood that humans are driven mainly by two big forces, love and fear. But there's something even stronger beneath those, a kind of obsession. Obsession isn't just about liking someone a lot, it's about control. When someone becomes obsessed with you, it's not just a casual crush. They start rearranging their whole lives around you. They wake up thinking about you. They change how they talk, act, and even dress based on you. And the crazy thing, you can actually engineer this. You can make someone obsessed with you if you understand how. So, how do you get there? How do you pull this off? Machiavelli's answer is surprisingly simple but super effective. Obsession doesn't happen because you give someone everything. It's sparked by what you withhold. Think about it. If you're always there, always available, always saying yes and showing your attention, that just creates comfort, and comfort, it kills curiosity. The brain actually gets bored when everything's predictable. So if you want to ignite obsession, you don't flood someone with your presence. Instead, you starve them of certainty. Obsession starts when the mind can't figure you out, when someone doesn't know exactly what you're feeling or thinking. Are you interested or indifferent? Are your last words filled with passion or just polite distance? That puzzle drives their brain into a loop, because our brains absolutely hate unsolved mysteries. To keep someone hooked, you have to let the silence hang just a little longer than feels comfortable. Delay your replies, pull back when they lean in, don't fully reveal your loyalty or your intentions. Machiavelli never gave anyone a straight answer, never fed them certainty, because certainty ends the chase. It's uncertainty that keeps the fire burning. Once you've made yourself a mystery, it's time to do something called strategic mirroring. You don't mirror everything. They don't want someone who just copies them. Instead, you reflect bits and pieces of what they want to see, but only in small doses. Show them flashes of ambition, flickers of vulnerability, intensity, then calm. The key is to give them just enough to think, this person understands me, but never enough for them to fully figure you out. Because here's the secret. The mind doesn't obsess over what it understands clearly. It obsesses over what it almost understands but can't quite grasp. That almost drives the obsession. Now that you've got them interested and wondering about you, the next step is something psychologists call intermittent reinforcement. It's like what gamblers feel when playing slot machines. Sometimes they win, sometimes they don't, and they never know when the next reward is coming. In relationships, this means giving warmth, but then withdrawing it, praising, then criticizing, pulling someone close, then vanishing. This back and forth creates a dopamine loop in their brain. It hijacks their reward system. They keep hoping for another hit of connection with you, but you're not actually offering love here, you're offering hope. And when hope is weaponized, it becomes more addictive than love itself. Machiavelli understood that the deepest obsessions don't come just from pleasure or happiness. They come from a kind of pain, a pain that already exists inside most people. Things like abandonment, rejection, or insecurity. You're not causing that pain, but you position yourself as the only one who actually understands it. You listen, without trying to fix them. You acknowledge their struggles without judgment. You see the parts of them they usually hide. Slowly, you make yourself not just a person in their life, but a solution to their pain. Being with you doesn't just feel good, it feels like healing. And once someone believes that about you, they don't walk away. They can't. There's a big trap here though. If you ever try to demand obsession, loyalty, or you make it a conversation or a request, you'll destroy it. Real obsession has to be provoked, not begged for. So, let your absence shout louder than your presence. Let your indifference sharpen their desire to know more. Let your unpredictability drive them crazy trying to imagine who you are. Machiavelli never begged for loyalty. Instead, he made himself so fascinating and impossible to fully decode that people handed it to him freely. You don't tell people to obsess over you, you become the obsession itself. People want to understand you, but you can't let them. The moment they figure you out, the chase ends. Instead, live mostly in their imagination more than their reality. Never be one solid predictable version of yourself. Because predictability, that kills obsession. Obsession thrives in contradictions, in mystery, mixed with intimacy, in coldness, mixed with sudden warmth, in power, mixed with vulnerability. One day you're intense and focused, the next, playful and distant. One day you shower them with praise, the next, you tease them. This contradiction makes them question everything. Which version is real? Did I do something wrong? That doubt hooks their mind deeper. You don't owe anyone consistency, but you do owe them a maze. Give them that mysterious maze with no map, and they'll wander forever trying to find the way. Now that you know you've got to make yourself unpredictable, mysterious, and really scarce, let's talk about one of the most powerful ways to deepen obsession: your timing. Machiavelli was a master of this. He didn't just control what he did, he controlled when he showed up and when he disappeared. If you want someone obsessed with you, timing is everything. Here's how you do it. First, leave conversations unfinished. Imagine you're having a deep, intense moment with someone. Then you suddenly pull away or go quiet. Not because you're rude or uninterested, but because you're strategizing their mind. Send a message that makes them feel truly seen. Like you noticed something only they carry, but then disappear for hours. Go silent. 8 hours, maybe more. The key is to exit right when the energy between you is at its peak. Don't wait until it dies. You want them left hanging, craving, wondering what just happened. You create a void that echoes in their mind long after you've gone. Their thoughts buzz with uncertainty. Their heart feels a little flutter of fear. It's like mental real estate. You've taken up permanent space in their thoughts, but you're not paying rent. You're just the ghost that lingers. Another powerful tool, mirroring, but not the way most people think. Most folks think mirroring is about copying someone's body language or repeating their words. Nope, it's deeper than that. Mirroring the right way means reflecting someone's inner world back at them, but with a twist. You say the things they've always felt, but never really knew how to express. You notice details they thought no one else saw. You make them feel truly understood, but with a hint of mystery or distortion. Because here's what happens: they want to keep engaging with you to correct that slightly off reflection. They want to complete the story you've started, but you never fully fix the mirror. You stay just a bit off, always almost right, and that almost keeps them coming back. It's the difference between predictable and captivating. People don't crave what's common or easy, they worship what's rare and hard to get. That's why you must make yourself rare in every way imaginable. Your time, never freely available. Your thoughts, never fully shared. Your approval, definitely not handed out casually. Your attention, a complete mystery. Every interaction has to be something they have to earn, because obsession isn't about being accessible. It's about proximity earned, not access granted. They don't fall in love with you as a person. They fall in love with the idea of being chosen by you. And once they feel chosen, watch how fiercely they fight to keep it that way. The game changes. You're no longer just a person to like, you're a prize that has to be protected. Obsession grows from removal, not affection. So just as they start to get close, just as they think they finally have you figured out, you pull back, disappear just enough to shake up their world, but never cruelly or callously. You don't want hate, you want miss. They'll start going over every word, every glance, trying to figure out what they did or didn't do. This is the moment obsession deepens. It's no longer about you, it's about how they feel in your absence. That longing fills the space you left behind. Now, think about this. Every powerful figure in history had some kind of scent, a word, a gesture that anchored themselves in people's minds. You have to do the same. These tiny sensory anchors plant themselves deep in the subconscious. Maybe it's a phrase you say only you use, a particular tone your voice takes when you're serious, or a unique gesture that triggers a memory. If it becomes your fingerprint in someone's brain, they start seeing you in other people's words, hearing your voice in moments of silence. You transform from just a person to a presence, from human to haunting. For someone to truly become obsessed, they have to see themselves in you, and you in them. You're no longer the other. You become part of how they understand themselves. That's exactly what Machiavelli did. He didn't just give advice or influence from the outside. He embedded himself in people's choices, their fears, their pride. He became the internal voice they heard when making decisions. People don't obsess over others. They obsess over who they believe they are when they're with you. So, make them feel more powerful, more understood, more desired whenever you're around. You start planting values inside them, values that make you stand out. You catch details others miss. You show them a version of themselves that only exists when you're near. And here's the craziest part. Every time they step away from you, they feel less. They feel incomplete. They come back because the obsession isn't with you, it's with the person they become because of you. One of the strongest moves, give them a title in your life. Something like, "You're the only one who really gets this side of me," or "I don't trust people easily." But with you, it's different. Now they don't just feel chosen, they are chosen, branded with an identity connected to you. And losing you would mean losing that identity. And that's exactly what obsession looks like. You become a mirror, reflecting their best, most desired self. People protect their mirrors fiercely, just like they protect their ego. Machiavelli wrote, "Men must either be caressed or annihilated." To truly own someone's emotional loyalty, you have to hold their secrets. But here's the trick. You don't demand confessions. You just listen, with silence and not judgment, so deeply that people volunteer their secrets freely. When they open up about trauma, failures, and shame, you don't react with shock or advise, you just witness. That act alone makes them feel safer with you than anyone else. You become their vault. And when people fear their secrets are locked away with you, that fear turns into attachment, and that attachment can grow into deep obsession. You don't just influence who you are to them now. You rewrite who you were to them in the past by reframing shared experiences. You start planting memories like seeds. Remember the look you gave me when I said that, or that moment we walked by that place. I could tell you were struggling inside. Even if those moments never happened exactly that way, they start believing they did, because the brain is plastic. It rewires itself based on emotion, suggestion, and repetition. You arrive in their narrative like a plot twist they never saw coming, but can't stop replaying. Obsession dies when stories end. So your job is to build a shared mythology and then never finish it. Talk about places you'll visit together. Describe futures you might have. Paint vivid moments, then vanish. You're creating what Machiavelli called a political promise, giving hope without a guarantee. That unknown hook stays in their mind, making them think, what if it could really happen? What if they were the one and I lost it? Your story suspends in the air, pulling them back every time life feels empty or cold. You become the one who altered their timeline, the person they obsess over. So we've talked about timing, mirroring, and the power of scarcity. Now let's dive even deeper into what really fuels obsession, the emotional landscape beneath it all. Machiavelli understood something most people miss. The strongest obsessions don't come from pleasure or happiness alone. They come from pain, the type that already lives quietly inside most people. Think about it. Everyone carries some kind of silent wound. Maybe it's fear of abandonment, rejection, or deep-seated insecurity. You're not the one causing that pain. But here's the masterstroke: you become the only person who truly understands it. And the way you do that is powerful but subtle. You don't jump in with solutions or advice. Instead, you listen. You acknowledge without judgment. You see the parts they try to hide. Slow and steady, you become less of a person in their life and more of a solution. They don't just want to be around you because it feels good. They stay because it feels like healing. Here's the catch, though: if you ever demand obsession, loyalty, or attention outright, you'll kill it. True obsession isn't begged for, it's carefully provoked. Let your absence shout louder than your presence. Let your indifference sharpen that hunger. Let your unpredictability drive them mad with curiosity. Remember, Machiavelli didn't have to beg for loyalty. He made himself so fascinating, so impossible to fully decode, that people gave it willingly. You don't tell anyone to obsess you, become the obsession. People want to know who you are, but you can't let them. The moment they figure you out, the chase is over. You've got to live more deeply in their imagination than in their reality. Never let yourself be a fixed, unchanging person. Predictability is the enemy of obsession. Instead, thrive in contradiction. Be intense and focused some days, playful and distant the next. Praise one minute, tease the next. Keep them guessing. Make them wonder, which one is real? Did I mess up somewhere? They become addicted to solving the puzzle, that puzzle being you. You don't owe people consistency. You owe them a maze, and if you never give them a map, they'll happily wander it forever. Want to control someone without even touching them? Control when you show up and when you disappear. That's where timing becomes an obsession. Weapon. Leave conversations unfinished. Say something that makes them feel seen, then vanish for hours. Exit when the energy is at its highest, not when it's dying down. This creates a void so sharp it echoes in their mind. Their heart races with questions and a little bit of fear. You've captured their mental real estate. Now mirroring, again, done right, is an obsession technique. Don't copy their words or body language, that just feels fake. Instead, mirror their inner world, but slightly twisted. Say what they've always felt, but never expressed out loud. Notice things about them that they thought no one saw. Make them feel known, but slightly misunderstood. Why? Because they'll keep talking to you to fix the reflection. They want to finish the story you started but can't, because you leave it just slightly off. This almost right feeling keeps them hooked. People don't crave the common or easy. They worship the rare and mysterious. So make yourself rare. Your time, never a free pass. Your approval, a treasure to be earned. Your thoughts partially hidden. Your attention, unpredictable. Every interaction is an earned prize. Obsessions don't grow from access. They grow from earned proximity. They don't fall in love with you as a person, but with the idea of being chosen by you. And once that happens, watch how fiercely they cling. Obsession is born in that balance between distance and selection. It's the art of creating emotional friction where they crave you most when you're just out of reach, just as they start getting close. Pull away. When they think they understand you, disappear a little. When they get comfortable, shake things up, but never be cruel or harsh. Confusion, not hatred, drives obsession. Let them replay your last conversation. Analyze every look, question everything they said. That's the moment obsession gets real. It stops being about you and becomes about how they feel when you're gone. Now, think about this. Every influential person in history had a signature, a scent, a word, a gesture unique to them. They planted these tiny sensory anchors in others' subconscious minds. Make yourself that way. Have a phrase only you say, a tone you use when serious, a gesture that triggers memories. It becomes your mental fingerprint. They start seeing you in other people's words, hearing your voice even when you're silent. You move from being a person to a presence, a ghost that haunts their everyday life. That's obsession. They don't just see you, they see themselves reflected in you. You're no longer the other. You're woven into how they understand themselves. Machiavelli didn't just influence from the outside. He became the voice they heard, making their own choices. People don't obsess over another person. They obsess over the person they believe they are when they're with you. So make them feel powerful, seen, and desired. Subtly plant values in them. Show them a side of themselves that exists only when they're around you. And here's the kicker. Every time they step away, they feel incomplete. They come back because the obsession is less about you and more about who they become when you're near. Once they're invested, give them an identity in your life. Something like, you're the only one who really gets me, or I don't trust many people. But with you, it's different. And that feeling, that title, it ties them to you. To lose, you would be to lose themselves. That's obsession on a deep, emotional level. You become their mirror for the best, most desired version of themselves. And people guard those mirrors fiercely like they guard their ego. Machiavelli said, men must either be caressed or annihilated. To truly own someone's loyalty, you have to hold their secrets. But don't demand those secrets. Listen in silence. With no judgment, they will give you their deepest fears and failures freely because they feel safe with you. You become their vault. That fear of secrets rotting alone creates attachment. And when attachment is crafted well, it becomes obsession. You aren't just influencing them now, you're rewriting their past too. You reframe memories. Remember that look I gave you when I said that? That changed everything. Even if it didn't exactly happen like that, their brain rewires, believing it did, like a plot twist in a story they can't stop thinking about. Obsession dies when stories end, so build a shared mythology and never finish it. Talk about places you'll go, futures you might share, paint vivid moments, and then vanish. It's a political promise that gives them hope but no guarantees. That unknown keeps them hooked. They think, what if that could be real? What if they were the one and I lost it? The story never ends. It hangs, pulling them, back every time life feels cold or empty. You become the one who changed their timeline, the person they obsess over. Alright, let's get into the final, critical ingredient that seals the obsession. Fear, but not the dramatic kind of fear. The quiet, soft panic that creeps in when someone worries about losing you. Machiavelli didn't threaten power with blunt force. Instead, he made others fear being outside his circle, being forgotten or left behind. When someone feels like your attention could vanish at any moment, it makes them tighten their grip on you. Here's where it all gets subtle but intense. Start small. After an intense conversation or connection, gently withdraw. Go quiet, not in a way that causes hate or anger, but in a way that sparks anxiety. They begin asking themselves, did I say something wrong? Are they losing interest? Am I not enough? You flip the script. They start to believe that they are the unstable one, the one who has to work harder to keep your attention. Believe it or not, that panic drives obsession like nothing else. But here's the key. People don't fear losing what they don't value. So your job is to offer them something sacred, but just a taste. Something so rare and special that they feel trusted, even chosen. If they lose you, it's not just a person they lose. It's a privilege. And humans are wired to panic over loss of privilege. Think of your loyalty like a rare fine wine. You pour a little sip here, a toast there, but never give them the whole bottle. This partial feeling of having you is what makes them crave more. They fear the day when you stop pouring completely. Everyone has insecurities they try to hide away, fears they run from. You become the one person who makes those insecurities disappear, but only sometimes. When you make them feel powerful, seen, and whole, they start to associate relief with your presence. But when you subtly vanish, those insecurities return. So they equate you with relief, the only thing stopping their fears from swallowing them whole. They become emotionally dependent, not on your words, not even on your love, but on the version of themselves they can only access through you. And this creates a crazy cycle. Even the idea of you leaving becomes unbearable. This is fear disguised as attachment. And here's a wild truth about rejection. Most people fear rejection because it leaves without closure. If someone feels like you might leave, even if you don't actually say it, they panic. And if they feel like you could leave for a reason that's their fault, they'll try harder. Never threaten to walk away or push someone with ultimatums. Instead, drop thoughts like, I've always admired your strength. I just hope you don't become like everyone else. This plants seeds of doubt that keep them chasing, trying to prove their worth to you. You're not pushing them away. You're making them terrified of pushing you away. Now they're not just drawn to you emotionally. They start guarding you, like fragile gold. And once you've successfully embedded yourself deep into their identity, their memories, their desires, you become their moral compass. You subtly guide their choices and decisions. You might say something like, that's not how I see you, just with a slight shift in tone or attitude. And suddenly they wonder, have I lost their respect? Now they're not chasing your affection, they're chasing your moral approval. Think about that for a second. If you control someone's self-image, how they see themselves, you control almost everything. Here's when silence becomes your most powerful weapon. You can go completely silent, and they'll text 3 times, they'll scroll back through your messages and analyze every last word. Machiavelli understood that silence is louder than words. You make them dependent on your unpredictability. They become hooked on trying to fix something that was never broken. They're chasing their own obsession, and you just stay a few steps away, always near, but never fully reachable. Obsession needs fuel, and nothing feeds it better than a perfectly timed vanishing act. When you're no longer present, your power begins to grow. In that moment, you become larger than life. You're no longer chasing attention, you are the absence that haunts it. You don't ghost, you don't block. You simply fade. Just a slight delay in replies, a small drop in warmth. Don't never give a reason. If they ask, what's wrong? You offer calm confusion. Nothing's wrong. I've just been in my head. This subtle uncertainty sends their mind into overdrive. They start blaming themselves. Did I overwhelm them? Was I never enough? And that right there is what makes them obsessed. But while you soften the fade out, never disappear entirely. Leave behind triggers, breadcrumbs that keep you alive in their thoughts. Maybe it's a playlist you shared once, a location you always met at. Or a phrase you say so often it becomes yours. These sensory flags become a ghost in their everyday life. Their mind starts filling in the blanks. Their imagination becomes your voice. Obsession feeds on friction. Leave small traces. Don't watch their story unfold, but don't respond. Maybe like a comment on a post. Never a direct text. Send vague messages with no context, then fall silent again. These breadcrumbs spark hope that they're still in your mind. That hope keeps them crawling through an emotional desert, desperate for a drop of attention. You're no longer just the person they desire. You become the only answer they crave, the oasis in their emotional dehydration. Then, after a period of silence, you reappear, but you're not the same. You come back colder, sharper, more in control, less emotionally expressive, and you treat them differently, just a little less soft, just a notch more distant. They can feel it. They'll feel the distance, and they'll try to get back what they lost. But you don't fully return. You let them know through tone, behavior, energy, that something's changed. You were close, but now you're different, and that makes your presence even more valuable. They're no longer chasing who you are. They're chasing who you used to be, and people never stop chasing ghosts of those they once felt safe with. They try everything, but nothing works because you've made yourself unreachable. They're no longer chasing you. They're chasing the relief. You gave them the person they became because of you. Now they're trapped in that cycle they created, built on your silence, your warmth, your withdrawal, and your return. You gave them just enough paradise to make reality unbearable without you. That's the power of becoming a legend. Now, let's talk about shaping your myth. Speak about your past in poetic, vague, and ambiguous ways. Let others describe you in extreme terms: mysterious, powerful, unreadable. Never defend your image. Let them argue over it. Once someone starts defending you to others, they've become your priest, part of your myth. You're no longer just the person they knew. You become a story they can't stop telling. And stories live longer than memories. That's the kind of control Machiavelli wanted. He didn't just want people to like or fear him. He wanted to be obeyed. An obsession, if sculpted properly, becomes the purest form of control. Because once someone's identity is tied to you, they don't just want you, they need to prove themselves to you. And that's when they'll do anything without ever being asked. So here's the final layer to validation. But not just any validation. This isn't about love or affection. It's about loyalty, alignment, and becoming someone whose approval truly matters. When someone's obsessed with you, they aren't just craving affection. They're seeking validation for their values, their beliefs, their sense of self. And you hold that power. Give validation, not for how they make you feel, but for how well they align with you. When they defend your beliefs, echo your values, and follow the unspoken rules of your world, that's when you really own their loyalty. When you open up, they follow you. When you show appreciation, they begin to understand who you are and what matters. It's behavioral loyalty in its purest form. But to raise the stakes even higher, it's silence that does the real heavy lifting. Make it clear through your energy alone that you have standards of emotional self-control, grace under pressure, loyalty that doesn't need reminders. Don't explain these standards. Embody them. They'll start self-correcting, trying harder because they don't want to lose you. This is how you create invisible laws, not with punishment, but with selective warmth. Now, here's an important distinction. Surface-level obsession fades, but obsession rooted in ideology that lasts forever. What uncomfortable truths do you live by? Maybe it's that most people are too soft to lead, or that loyalty should always be earned, or that silence speaks louder than words ever could. Drop these truths casually. If they agree with you, they'll start reshaping their values to mirror yours, not because you forced them, but out of genuine admiration. They're no longer just obsessed with you. They're obsessed with being like you. You become the answer to a question they don't even know how to ask. Because here's the thing, people walk around with voids they can't exactly put into words. A deep desire to feel dangerous, to be seen deeply. You don't fill these voids directly. Instead, you create the illusion that only you truly understand them. And that makes leaving you feel like spiritual death. They may try to walk away, but every relationship after you will feel too shallow. Because you weren't just a person. You were a doorway to a richer version of themselves. And when you close that door, they feel the loss deeply. Machiavelli didn't tell people what to do. He made them believe it was their own idea. That's the art of planting ideas like seeds and slowly watering them with praise. You always think one step ahead. Don't you see through what others miss? Now, people don't just see your influence as power. They see aligning with you as intelligent, pleasing you as strength, and they think it was their idea all along. That's the art of control without resistance. You're no longer just an individual. You've become what you represent. You're mythologized by design. Machiavelli knew that fear and awe work best when the source feels slightly inhuman, so you remain distant. You speak carefully. You let mystery replace explanation. You're no longer just a part of their life. You're above it. You influence their life from the shadows, and that's how you create obsession. Not by force or demand, but by becoming an enigma, a presence, a legend, by shaping how they see themselves, by giving them hope, then withholding it, by being rare, unpredictable, and impossible to fully decode, by living in their imagination more than their reality. This is the power Machiavelli wielded to control kings. And this, my friend, is how you make someone obsessed with you.